and hope for the best, I guess. So everybody who's watching this, welcome and thank you for being part of this. My name is Reshel Shah. I am the moderator of the Women in Film Talk. I am a documentary film director and producer. But over here we have three amazing women filmmakers who have been at it. I've gone through their bios. They're amazing at what they do. And I am, first of all, so excited to have this chat with them. So first of all, thank you, the three of you, for being here. And I think this is going to be amazing. So thank you so much for giving your time to have this discussion and, you know, to discuss women in film in particular. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to read your bios out so everyone can know a little bit about you. I think that's really important. And then I'll just start going through the questions and hopefully we'll just hear what you guys have to say and we'll take it from there. So here I go. First of all is Khaula. Khaula Malik is a Pakistan-born, Virginia-bred filmmaker whose work centers on trauma, womanhood, and intersectional identity. Khaula got her start acting in award-winning shows for Pakistan television. Her short film How the Air Feels premiered at AFI Docs in 2017 and won the National Board of Review Student Grant Award. That same year, she received the BAFTA of New York John Grist Scholarship. She has served on the review committee for the Peabody Awards, the IFP Documentary Lab, and the Brooklyn College Student Film Festival. She was a fellow in the 2018 Hot Springs Emerging Filmmaker Program with her featured documentary, The Noble Half. Most recently, Khaula was selected for the Tribeca channel through her Lens program and the Cinequa. I'm not too sure if I'm saying that right, Khaula. Cinequa Non, is that right? That's okay. Cinequa Non Revisions Lab. Her work has been featured in the New York Times, Sight and Sound, and Brown Girl magazine, as well as on Cooney TV. Khaula is a graduate from the MFA program at the Furstein Graduate School of Cinema of Brooklyn College. Thank you so much, Khaula, for being here, and congratulations on all your achievements so far and everything that you have succeeded in, which has been amazing. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and then we shall now move on to Bethana Boslam. Boutheyna is a filmmaker and an artist. She is a filmmaker and a visual artist who uses personal archives and experiences that create collective memory to reflect on current society, mainly documentary photography and videos. Her work includes the feature-length documentary film Looking for the Man with the Camera, shot between Syria and Turkey. Boutheyna studied visual arts at the Monaco Art School and then earned a master's degree with a double major in visual arts and cinema from the University of Art and Design of Geneva in 2010. She worked as a teaching assistant and a lecturer in the visual arts department at HED Geneva. She was born in Paris and lives and works between Geneva and Istanbul. And welcome, Boutheyna, to this Women in Film panel discussion as well. Congratulations on all your achievements and really excited to hear about your experiences and your points of view. So thank you for being here, Boutheyna. And last but not least, Hana Omair. Omair, I hope I'm saying that right. I'm terrible with. That's correct. Yes. Okay, fantastic. Thank you, Hana. Hana is a writer, filmmaker, and film critic. Hana is the co-writer and director of the Netflix original series Whispers, a 2020 production. She wrote and directed the short film Swan Song in 2019, which won the Golden Palm Tree Award for Best Actor at the Saudi Film Festival and has been screened at the Berlin Film Festival Market, Sharm el-Sheikh Film Festival for Asian Films, and the Gothenburg Arab Film Festival. In 2018, she directed 2 episodes of a primetime television show for the Saudi channel. Omair won Best Script with Hind Al-Fahad for the short film Peddlers at the King, Fahad Center Short Film Competition in 2016. Her film, The Complaint, was selected in the main competition of Tessa's Festival for Asian and African Films in Morocco in 2014 and won the Golden Palm Tree Awards for Best Short Fiction in the Saudi Film Competition in 2015. The film was also screened in Moscow as part of the Saudi Cultural Week and in London as part of the Saudi Film Days. Her documentary Beyond Words was screened at the Gulf Film Festival in 2009 and selected for the main competition at the Muscat Film Festival in 2010. Her script for Hadaf won the Silver Palm Tree Award for Best Script at the Saudi Film Festival competition in 2008. Hana has also recently published a book about Akira Kurosawa titled The Samurai of Japanese Cinema, Akira Kurosawa. And she has written a play called Khat or Kat in 2017. She has worked as a head writer in several writing workshops for several TV series, and she was a jury member for the Saudi Film Festival held by Bethana in 2017. Hana was born in Saudi Arabia, where she continues to live and work. I've not said the word winning awards so many times, Hana, so congratulations for all your achievements there. It's amazing. And again, thank you for being part of this panel discussion. Lovely to have you.
Thank you.
All right, so let's, again, thank you for being here. I think we should just go straight into it. I'd love to, start this discussion. So I do have some questions, and what I'll do is I'll ask the question and then I'll say who it's for first. With most of the questions, the idea is for you all to have a go answering it, because what we've noticed, you've all come from different backgrounds, you have different ways of storytelling as well. So it'll be really interesting to understand your point of view. So my first question, which goes to Khaula, when did you know or realize that filmmaking is the path you wanted to follow and take further?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wish I could say it was like the moment I was a young child, but definitely it wasn't. It was sometime after I did my bachelor's. I was working in New York City, and I was working in public relations, and I had lost my job. And a friend of mine had asked me, or had told me, there was a Pakistani director that was looking for an assistant for a TV show that she was filming. And so I went and interviewed for the job, and I got the job, but it wasn't to be her assistant. It was to be the assistant director, which I didn't know how to do, but somehow I was hired.
Just jumped into it.
Exactly. So it was this baptism by fire experience where the first week I was like, I think I'm going to quit. This is like way too much. And I was like, I can't quit. I have to like stick it through. And so I got to the end of that production. It was like a little over a month, and it was this kind of crazy experience. But then when I saw the finished product on television, it was just so worth it. And for me, that's kind of when I knew. I had done some stuff like off Broadway theater work. I had done some writing, but I didn't know that there was something I could do that like asked like everything of myself. And something that I would enjoy, where like sort of like the blood, sweat, and tears were worth it. And I think that for me, that was that moment. And it took a couple of years kind of doing other things for me to come back to it. But yeah, I would say it was that kind of that experience.
I love that it was the job of a first AD, which I think is one of the toughest, hardest, meanest roles, and that's what kind of got you straight into it. But I do love how you're saying it's when you then saw that creation and you knew that you were part of it, and that, when you see that and feel that, and I think that's really important in film as well. I think the fact that the way you go is such a personal experience as well, isn't it? That everyone's is different. And I think it's fantastic how you got into it, even if it is from the first AD's point of view.
Okay, so absolutely.
I'll just carry on that question now to Boutheyna. So the same question, when did you know or realize filmmaking and visual arts was the path you wanted to follow, or you knew you wanted to take it further?
Well, for me, it kind of started from the childhood, because I was a drawer since I was a kid. My mom, she had me and my older sister when she was preparing her PhD. So she just gave us papers and pencils. She could not afford the babysitter. So she was like really typing on a typewriter her PhD thesis. And I was like drawing, and then I started drawing on her dictionaries. But then the transition from a normal, I come from an Arab family. I'm born in Paris, but a lot of immigrant families have very high standards for their children. So studying art was not an option. So I went to have my like medical school or biology school, normal studies, and then I switched. So there is like a very classic child who's drawing and who wanted to go to do an art school. And then the switch to, it's not really a switch, but it's having a double switch or double click with cinema was when I moved to Switzerland. And the schools there was very, like, it was a huge school, so we could pick any classes that we want. And then I found myself having a theory of cinema class and discovering Fellini and Dziga Vertov. And suddenly I said, oh, actually, maybe for some things that I want to say, the easier way to say it is to put a camera, say the things, and that's it. So I continued in both of the ways.
And was your family all right when you kind of like did that switch over?
I don't see the difference.
Okay.
It's always a non-conventional choice of career.
Yeah.
So it's I think that for us women, it's a lifetime journey to be taken as a serious person with those serious opinions about things, and they just like.
Yeah. And I see here that Khaula's like, I 100% relate. And yeah, I think, you know, I remember when I got into filmmaking, and then I decided to be a lecturer as well at a university and teach film. And I remember telling my dad, I've got this position as a lecturer, and he was so happy because he's like, it's finally a job I can let people know. And then because it's something I can tell others. And I always used to be like, well, being a filmmaker is not an embarrassment, Dad. He's like, I just don't get it. So absolutely, I think being a woman in film as it is, even the family, trying to just push that side to understand it is, I think that's a whole different panel discussion, to be honest, isn't it?
But I just would like to say, I had the same experience with my father, because when I finished art school, I was a teaching assistant and a lecturer later. So he was really relating to that. But anything outside of that is very hard to relate. And like at the same time, as a visual artist working in cinema was also a bit sketchy. And in January, I won the Solor Award, which is the biggest award in cinema in Switzerland. And people, my friends, said, oh, it's a great chance that you won. Chance. I think it's a lot of work. But still, people don't give that much of credibility as a woman and as someone who has a very small differences.
I
sorry.
No, please, absolutely. And thank you for explaining that and being absolutely honest about it as well. So if we can go to Hana as well now. So Hana, same question. I'm loving how all the answers are very different. Again, it shows your personal experience with picking this industry. So when did you realize that filmmaking was your path?
I've always dreamt of being in a set and see how people work, and I always loved films. My mother was a big fan of, old films, Egyptian films, but to be seriously taken into and then decide that this is your path and this is what you want to do, it took a long time. And it started with writing scripts first, and then you write it and you have a certain vision of how things will go. And then I started with giving the scripts to my friends, but then I see that there's something missing there. And sometimes I want to experiment, like with my first documentary, Beyond Words. I feel that there's something that I want to see and document myself. So without even realizing what I'm doing, I just decided that I'm going to direct this and go for it. And then gradually, even though I was, asking myself, are you sure you're going to do this? But every single time I was on the set, it's like someone else is there as I'm taken by another power, maybe, I don't know, it's like I'm doing things that I don't even think about it. And then when I finish, I realize, this was me. Okay. So it was a magical journey in a way, and not, it as it started, not everybody took it for, as something serious. it took a while for even my family, my friends to realize that I'm serious about, directing, filmmaking. So it took a long time, but maybe in the last 2 years, I started to say, no, this is me, this is what I'm going to do, and this is what I love doing more than anything else. So.
And I think that kind of goes on to my next question as well, which I'll then start with Hana and then put it forward to the other ladies as well, which was, as a woman in film, or as women in film, should I say, what are the key challenges you have faced as a woman in the film industry? Something that might not have been an issue for the opposite gender, but as a woman, what have you faced? So Hana, if we can then start off with you, and then I'll push it forward to the other ladies.
Yeah, sure. Maybe in Saudi, because it's a new industry, it's quite similar in a way. Not really big difference between me and my male colleagues. Although at one point it was a little bit of an issue shooting outdoors. Yeah, at one point, but now we don't have a problem at all. We can shoot anywhere, and people started to actually get acquainted with cameras and accept it, because at one point not everybody in Saudi was really tolerant towards shooting and filmmaking and things like this. But later, in the last, maybe I would say 3 to 4 years, things have changed drastically. So this is not an issue at all. I have a problem sometimes that others have in terms of that we don't have a real industry yet, no infrastructure. There are lots of issues that we face regarding the, making films, financing it, production issues, all sorts of things related to this. Also, that we don't have many actresses, and most of them are not professionals. So this is an issue that, and of course, as a woman, most of the stories that I write, it's always about female characters, and then I'm facing the problem of not having actresses, and then we need to work on this. So this is maybe the main challenge right now.
But that's really interesting, because I know, that's something even here in Dubai that, when I meet people who are actresses as well, they're like, the problem is it's seen as a hobby more than a profession. Yes. So we can also say women in film aren't just the filmmakers, it's also the other roles, right? Like, for example, acting. Definitely. And knowing that you see that is something that's clearly then a challenge right now, which is very interesting, that from the filmmaker's point of view, it's all right now, but from the actor's point of view, it's a lot more tough for them and for you to find them. Yeah. Oh, wow. That's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah. I will now pass along to Boutheyna. If you could. I just muted myself by accident. So if we could, the same question, I think we spoke earlier during the week when you were telling me certain stories. So, if you could just go in more depth with that, that'd be great.
Well, for me, it was, as someone who's working on documentaries in war zones about human rights violations and enforced disappearance for 4 years, non-stop in the border close to Syria. The main concern as a woman is that I am a much, much, much more vulnerable and clear target. As a woman in these areas, we have something extra called sexual violations that men don't risk. And it's as simple as that. We are walking targets. We are walking with a red big point on our forehead, and I do have a very unconventional look, and I am not a hijabi woman. So first of all, I have to physically camouflage myself, which never a man has to do. The second thing is that no matter where I go, I have to take multiple precautions that men don't have to do. And then also in the investigation work, it's like investigating enforced disappearance for years. And then like I've also been working with news agencies as a camerawoman, as a translator, as a fixer, and all this needs an investigating network. And as a woman, there is this stigma. If you are there, it's not because you are trying to defend human rights. It's not because you have an ideology. You are there because you want it and you like it. And no matter what happens to you, it is mubah because you are there in a dangerous zone. So in every single contact, and we need thousands and thousands to find names of disappeared people in prison, to find the names of the people who are like spy on other. It's like it's a whole complicated, dangerous, investigative work. And on every step, you have to make sure that you have you using a burner phone, that you are using VPN, that you're never giving your name, that you are. So for me, it was survival mode all the time, and men never have to do this, like never. They have 0% and we have the 100%. And like this is, I've always been a little bit challenged as a woman. No one takes me seriously. No one thinks that I can make projects about politics. No one does this. As I've been the brown girl in the art schools. There are challenges, a lot. But this amount of inequality facing life and death, I have to say that for me, it's the worst I've ever seen in my life. And I don't think there is anything, it's war zones. Like we know that even in the legends that when there is a war, women are the first raped and taken as slaves. So it's still now like this, even for those who are working for media and documenting and NGOs, it's just.
And do you think though, knowing that you've gone through that, because, you know, that's a lot, right? To go through. And at the end of the day, you know, the story you did just brought that along because of the way women are kind of like represented, to, you know, how we are seen as vulnerable. Do you think by doing that, it's made you stronger to say, you know what I mean? Like say, I've gone through this and I've come out even stronger from it. Or has it kept you the same to make you, you know, question everything you do when you're about to make your next project?
Well, I think as women, we need to question everything before we start things, just to weigh how like the dangers, the involvement, the financial aspects, the independence,
the pros and cons, absolutely.
But at the same time, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So we are somehow stronger. Now I have to admit that there were really consequences for me, for my own security, for my own mental health. But I think that working in war zones for a prolonged time has very strong consequences on mental health. It does make stronger. The bigger picture is always good for us. We just need to continue producing. We just need to continue putting our names and showing our faces and say, I am here. I exist. Here. She's on Netflix. She is an international artist. We have female names. We have brown faces. There are other white faces in other places. We are here and we are a part of the big mosaic.
And we know how to make films.
Yeah. But
it's that simple. Yeah. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Bethana. Yeah, and you know, knowing that you've gone through that, I think it's good to know that, you know, I think a lot of female filmmakers go through this, or female artists even. And I was just wondering, Khaula, have you had any experiences where it's just, you know, being a bit, you know, I don't know if dangerous, or, you know, just the key challenges, if you faced any in the film industry as a woman?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, I just want to say, Boutheyna, thank you for the work that you do. I think it takes a lot of courage to put yourself in those positions. And so I give you a lot of credit, and just keep doing what you're doing. I would say for me, you know, I've worked in Pakistan and I've worked in the US. And what I will say, I'll talk about the US first and then I'll go into Pakistan. But in the US, I find that the challenges are, I have a bigger mental struggle where it's this feeling of like, do I deserve to be in this space? Can I take this space, right? Especially in the transition I've had going from producer to director, where producing, you at times are like sort of the mom, especially in narrative film production. And so that's like a natural role for women. And at a certain point, I started rebelling against that. And I was like, and I was getting more into directing, but that, again, that sort of mental block of like, I'm allowed to be here and I need to believe that myself and sort of lead the team. And I think the challenge is that because we've been raised often to feel like we don't belong in that space, that for me, it's like getting over that mental block. Because once I'm there, I can do it, but it's like getting to that point and then building a community of people around you who also support you. I think that's really, really important as a woman because, you know, I've worked on sets. I mean, I've been lucky. I've had great men to support the projects that I've worked on, but at times it's been challenging too. When you kind of just you're like director for hire, producer for hire, and you walk in and it's just like sexism everywhere. And that's challenging. Or like feeling like you're being considered for a job because of something that has nothing to do with like what your resume says and stuff like that. And those are challenging because, you know, you're also told if you say no to a job, there's going to be nothing, this like kind of scarcity mindset. But I think all of that is bullshit. And you just have to keep your integrity and do what you're doing. In Pakistan, it's really funny because the feature doc that I've been working on, it's just been myself and my DP, and my DP is also a woman. She's not Pakistani, but we started the project, just the two of us, and we would go and film, and now it's been about 4 years. And what I noticed is there was like a few trips where I hired a sound person from Pakistan, and he was a man, lovely person, but he kept like kind of overstepping his boundaries. And he started like telling my subject like what to do. And I'd have to be like, hey, you don't talk to them unless I ask you to. And like, that was hard for me to say, but it was this thing where it's like, they're trying to be helpful because in their minds, I'm just like a young child that's just doing like a school project. Like they don't understand that like this work is important. And that's kind of what I faced there, where it's like, oh, you're just like making this film, or it's like it's going to be like this thing.
We will help you. One of those like,
exactly, and that's challenging.
I'm sorry. You just said they don't understand it's important, but they also don't seem to understand that you can do it.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah, it's seen as smaller because I'm a woman, as opposed to if I was a man, they'd be like, oh my God, this is going to be like all over Netflix, or, you know, it's that.
And they wouldn't
like
set their boundaries. They wouldn't overstep their boundaries as well, because I work in India quite a bit as well, and that same thing happens to me. I'll have hired, you know, a local production manager, and I can't speak the language very well, but I'm learning it. So I'll be speaking to my subject, and then the local production manager will be like, "You're saying it wrong," or you know, I'm like, "Hey, calm down, don't worry, I'll figure it out. That's my issue. Your issue is to make sure the crew are safe and being fed right now," you know, something like that. So you do you and I'll do me. But it's always like, oh no, I was trying to help you because you're like my little sister. No, I didn't ask for that.
It's like, no, I'm your boss. And so you're going to respect me like your boss.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge. But, you know, I feel like with him, after I said that, now he's great. He's a great ally. But it's like, you have to speak up.
Yeah.
But it does make me wary because I'm working on trying to develop a feature narrative in Pakistan. And I just keep thinking of like, who are the people that I can bring on who will support me and like where I'm a woman, you know, and like that is, we'll see. But I think it's possible, but
I'm
there's
sure if
always
you just,
challenges.
that's it. And I'm sure, you know, if you keep firm like you did earlier, then I think you're going to go really far with your film. And again, like you said, it's about finding the right support when, so you might find people who don't, but you will hopefully find the people who will, and they are the ones that will help you make that project so much better as well.
Yeah.
So, but no, and thank you to all three of you. I 100% agree with everything you've all said. And clearly this all does show that we do have challenges as women in this industry. And, you know, when I meet people who say that, you know, women, it's all in our head and all of that, I've got to disagree. When all three of you have just told us the many challenges that do exist. And Khaula, you came up with a really good point when you were saying that how when you're in the US, for example, it's the mental thing of saying, can I do this? You know you will when you get into it, but it's, can I do this? And it's just because so many people have drilled that into us and so many of our experiences. But I think that's what makes women like you three so much stronger, so much more of the inspiration. And, you know, hats off to you and an applaud to all three of you to, you know, to go this far, and you should be very proud of you and you know, congratulations, because it's not easy and you're putting your foot down and you're still doing it. And it is an industry that should be fully equal. But one day, you know, the young girls will be looking up to you three because you're making those opportunities for them. So thank you. Thank you to all three of you for being that future for them. Which does go on to my next question now. So where is it? Okay, so Dame Heather Roberts, chair of Time UP UK, stated, people tend to recruit in their own image. Therefore, in the film industry, they mainly recruit men. So the film industry is still labeled as a man's world, like we've just discussed. How do you think, as a female, how do you think the film industry needs to change for us women to get more support in this industry? Do you think there's a certain way? I'm open for anyone to take that question first. Meva is up for it. Anyone? Silence.
I can do it.
Please, yes, Khaula, go for it.
So you're saying how can
what changes do you think? Yeah, what changes do you think the industry needs to have for us women to be supported more?
Well, I think we need more women in positions of power, especially women of color. I would there's great diversity initiatives out there, but until we're in decision-making roles, like, things are not going to change, and we're just going to be those tokens in those diversity initiatives. And so I think there's some great organizations, Brown Girls Doc Mafia, they're US based, but we have like an international membership. I would highly recommend, if you guys work in documentary, join, definitely join the organization. They're incredible, and they're very centered on supporting women of color and non-binary folks. And so for me, I would say 100% we need people in decision-making roles, because that's going to change the projects getting supported. Absolutely. Right? Because you're going to have people with different perspectives picking different things. So you're going to have those white filmmakers and stuff, and that's fine. But we need more of other kinds of people that are getting the same type of institutional support that, you know, white filmmakers, especially white male filmmakers, are getting. Yeah. And so that's what I would say. It's like, and doing your part in hiring for roles, which can be harder, right? It can be hard to be like, I'm making a film about X, Y, and Z. So it's important for me to get these kinds of people on the crew, but it's not always easy to find those kinds of people. But planning ahead and like really making that effort so you can be a part of that change, because it has to start, it has to be top down and bottom up. And so I think we can all do like our small part in that.
And I think that's a great point. Like, even if tomorrow 100 new female filmmakers come to each of you, it's fantastic, and we can push that, but still the top needs to change as well, because we could still have a whole lot, but if we don't see that change in women in power within the film industry in more higher roles, then there still might be a lack of change. And I think that's a fantastic answer, and thank you for that, Khaula. Boutheyna?
I wanted to say, actually, I will go one step further. and I would say there must be regulations and rules that force people. It's the example is always a little bit dramatic, but it's about honor crimes in some countries. As long as there is not a very outrageously strict law about it, it's always easier to go the way we've done things before. So just, I think there has to be a very radical move in making it mandatory to have 50-50. Otherwise, the project would not be qualified to this and that. The project would not have some funding and stuff.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I think there's so many.
We need the stick to get something, not only the carrot. Yeah,
and so even if we do have the women at the top, we still need those rules and regulations in place to make that change. And which goes on to Hana as well. You know, in Saudi Arabia, things have changed drastically. You know, Saudis openly welcomed cinema in, and you know, you as a female filmmaker has just worked with Netflix, you've won so much. So, but from your point of view, do you think, or what do you think needs to change for women to be accepted, even more Saudi women filmmakers? What do you think could happen?
Actually, it's good that maybe the industry was not well established at times when, you know, men would take over, and then it will be more difficult. When I started, I remember that I was on a set where I was the only woman, and about 70 men around me, and I was alone. And still, in many cases, I would see myself surrounded by men, but no women are there. But the fact that I'm there always tells me that, you know, there's younger women who would see me, and then they would say, if she can do it, we can do it as well.
Love
so
that.
Being part of the industry itself and getting more, you know, young women in, and always talking about what you do, and that this is your role and you enjoy it, and you're doing it, is also attracting more young women to come and join the industry. Right now, it's much better than before. The last set I was in, it was about 50-50 actually, which was great. But yes, I think we have also a responsibility for us to be to talk about other also female directors who were really pioneers and did great job, but not many people talk about them. You know, it's always like it's another history of cinema that not many people talk about. So I think, you know, the more you raise awareness about this and make it something that you work on wherever you go, helps a lot as well. You know, it's not only about laws are important and regulations are very important, but also us as individuals, we have a responsibility towards
So we should be making that change. So we're already starting that. Like you said, you're being that change by being that one woman around all those men. But still, there's more we can always do. And I 100% agree with that. Just thinking about it, when you were saying, you know, talking about female directors, you know, and I was like, oh my gosh, so far in the semester, I don't think I've taught enough about women in film to my students yet. And that's something I need to push forward more, because that's the only way it's going to change. It has to be a domino effect, right? And that's a fantastic answer, Hana, and especially coming from your own experience. So I think I have time for one more question. I can't believe how quick this time went, but this is going to be a flip question. I always hear from, you know, filmmakers, and especially male filmmakers, I got this done, I could do this, I did this in film, and it always has to be because they're the male. So this is a bit of a tough one, a toughy question. What story or example can you give from your experience that is a success story that only a woman in film could have achieved? So is there anything that you can say?
I can start with this one.
Go on, Bethana.
Sometimes there is a way of doing this in documentaries, because I've been working in Egypt, and then I've been working about the Arab Spring, and then working about enforced disappearance and everything. There is a woman can get away with a few things as being this caring motherly figure.
Yeah.
You are not the strong. I mean, sometimes I've been like, I had access to information that CNN could not access to because they came with the big boots and the big stuff. And then you were there and said like, please, I really would like to know the situation of people behind this border. And then they just escort you there and you film them and you speak with them. Just sometimes because we are not that we don't have that hero complex. And we know we're playing a role about being the sweet care. It's a role. We're aware of it. We are not. No, we're just playing. And we can play a role. We can act that sweet little thing. That this is usually something that society does not accept from men.
Yeah.
So if we're not that strong, we're not that powerful, then we can be more
involved in other ways and without emotions. Yeah.
Like I've seen colleagues doing this, friends, other fellow documentary makers, other fellow war photographers, and I've done it many times because I'm not strong enough. I'm barely strong to protect myself. I'm not strong to pick a fight and get to film what I want. So I just turn into this motherly figure, sisterly figure.
Which is a strength, I think. I think that's really important. And like you said, CNN couldn't get it, but I could. And it was just because, and I 100% agree. And I think it's a beautiful thing we have, that sympathy, empathy, and that care we can give, you know, is something that if we have it and it is a skill, then why not use it as well? So thank you, Bethana. That was a fantastic answer. If I can then move to Hana or Khaula, whoever would like to go for that. Hana, sure, go for it.
Well, in our country, as it has been, you know, there was a segregation for a long time. And then going to the women side and knowing their stories and telling their stories is, I think it's only us that we can do, because we know what they've been through for a long time. You know, it's even stories about what women in the past and what they went through and all of this. So it's always important, and I think that what we can bring out the type of stories that are not being that have not been told is something that's very important. And I think yes, it is our maybe contribution that we can really make in this field.
I love that. I think that's a fantastic answer, and a great way to see it as well, is that let's show the other strengths of the world and adapt that into a powerful film and a story to an audience. And that is in many ways our duty then, and like, which connects to your last answer, is what else can we do as female filmmakers and as females, right? So thank you, Hannah. Lovely answer. I love that. And moving to Khaula.
I feel like Boutheyna and Hana like covered everything. Like I would sort of echo what they said, where I feel like, you know, we have that kind of superpower of the natural empathy and sympathy that we possess, and being able to connect with people on that level. It's interesting when people talk about the male gaze in films, especially documentary. I've noticed, again, and this is not all male filmmakers, but there is a shallowness at times. And I think that's like the maleness in the film. And I feel like films directed by women, you have this depth. And I think it's because we're able to access that, and we want to know, like for me, I want to know that, right? I'm interested in that quality. I'm not interested in the edifice of what someone is, because that's the performance. And if it's about that, that's great. But if we want to really build that bridge between the audience and the people that you're watching, I think you need that depth. And I think we're much better at accessing that as women filmmakers.
Especially because, Khaula, your film, your short documentary, How the Air Fills, it has such a strong and deep story, built into it, and it's about a woman breaking free from her abusive past as well. And do you think that is a success of it because you are a woman yourself, so you could connect in the sense of understanding another woman, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think for me doing that film, because I'm also the subject and the filmmaker, that it was that process of accessing that emotion for me that that now I think allows me to get there with other, because my film in Pakistan is about a group of trans women. And a lot of these women are abandoned by their families, or many of them, their closest tie to their family is their mother, right? So this maternal figure is so important, I think, in people's lives. And so I wouldn't say it's being a stand-in for that role, but I think it's accessing that within ourselves so we can see it in someone else is really important.
I think 100%. Okay, well, it's 6:45. I hope the Sharjah platform doesn't mind me asking one little question to all of you guys, which is, what advice could you give to, I don't think it should matter, male or female filmmakers out there, just what advice could you give to the aspiring filmmakers of our future generation as, you know, amazing, strong filmmakers that you are? If I could start with Boutheyna and then move to Hana and then Khaula. So Boutheyna.
I would say, no matter the challenges that you face, most of the time we start from the house, and then it's in the school, and then it's the professional field, and then it's the funny. Take it one step at a time. Face it. Don't let it stop you. Try not to let it destroy you. It will stop you sometimes, and you will stop, and then you will continue. Just try to be undestroyed inside. And for women mainly, face it one challenge at a time. Don't waste your energy sometimes having fights that are not worth it. But when you feel that your safety is in danger, or your equal chances are in danger, all clothes out, all knives out, fight. Be calm. But when it comes to your safety or chances, financially, professionally, fight.
I love that.
I hope
Thank
that's
you.
very...
Thank you so much, Bethana. I love that. I love you started off really sweet and then you went into, but fight. No, and you're 100% right. You're 100% right. And thank you so much. If I can then move on to Hana, what advice could you give to aspiring filmmakers?
What I would say is, besides believing in yourself, is find your own voice. It's very important to know what you are born to tell, and just concentrate on that, and work on it. Work on yourself all the time to get the best out of you with whatever situation you are in, but know who you are first, because this is really important.
And I love that. I think it's, you know, in film never stops, and you know, and it's a beautiful, powerful, it's definitely a powerful industry and a powerful piece of work, but your center, it's so easy to forget that, I think. So knowing your center constantly is really important. Thank you, Hana. That's lovely advice. And Khaula.
Yeah, so, you know, I think for me, what I would say is it's important to create work that comes from, I think, either a personal place, something that inspires you, and maintaining integrity in your work, because I think as you rise the ranks and stuff, there's a lot of outside voices coming in. And I think especially for women of color, there's a desire to be like, okay, oh, X, Y, and Z wants to give me money, but they need my film to be this other thing that it's not. And so don't compromise yourself, because they might not see it now. They want to put you into a box, but don't get into the box, right? Maintain your integrity. And then the other thing I will say, there's a lot of burnout in our industry. And so I think have other hobbies, do other things that make you happy. I'm like starting to relearn that. it doesn't always have to be film. You can take 3 years off and do something else, and that's okay.
Love that.
So yeah,
I paint, as you can see, terribly paint.
I think they're beautiful.
Oh, thank you very much. But I 100% agree with you. Like, you need to know when to stop, not stop working in the film, but take a moment and take a moment for yourself. And I love how all your answers are, even though all three of you are from absolutely different backgrounds, absolutely different filmmakers, all three of you, your advice all connect to one another, which also just does show the strength of us women filmmakers in this industry, because we all believe that, you know, you've got to fight for it. You've got to find your center, and you've got to know when to take a moment for yourself, which all goes down to be strong for yourself and know who you are. And I think that's fantastic. And I just wanted to quickly say thank you. Congratulations to all three of you. And just again, we have Khaula, Malik, we have Boutheyna, Bouslama, and Hana Omair, all award-winning filmmakers. Female aside, we've got filmmakers here, and I think that's the most important thing. Congratulations to all your work and everything you've achieved. You've inspired me, and I think you've inspired many other young women out there and young filmmakers. And I wish you all the best for your futures. I'm sure it's going to be
Thank you so
epic.
much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for taking part in this, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
All right.
Thank
Take
you.
care. Wherever
Take
you
care.
are, have a great day or evening. And hopefully we'll all get to work with each other soon one day.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. And thank you
Bye.
for all of
Thank you.
you. Thank you.
Thank
Hope
you.
to
Take
see you
care.
at some point.